guys, this is, of course, what if Deku, um, was a vampire? Now let's get straight into this, eh. Now, Izuku would get his powers from a god, but the god gave him his powers because the god felt bad for him. The god then said, well, since I'm technically not supposed to do this because it's against the rules, I have to give you somewhat of a commandment. Kind of like the Ten Commandments. What I'm giving you is sort of like a demon type ability. It isn't really godly. He then says, look, Midoriya, if that's what you call yourself, I'm gonna have to give you a down buff. Now, what I've decided to do is I've made your downside to your power. You have to drink human blood. Suku says, what? That's like one of the worst. That's like one of the worst commandments you could ever give me. And the man then said, "I know, but it's either that or you're never able to die, and then you're gonna hate me for that. So yeah, as long as you keep on feasting on blood, you should be able to live for a long time, but not forever. Cause there's a reason that you're not given infinite life. You guys just don't know how to appreciate life with infinite life." Azuku then wakes up and then he notices nothing is different. Azuku says, I knew it was just a dream. There's no possible way that he could have given me a power. He then goes to sleep. Now he wakes up the next day. And basically, he walks downstairs and his mom says, oh, hey, Azuku. And then he says, hey. And then did your. She's like, I think I think you need to go to the hospital. Azuku then says, why? She then tells him, your eyes have turned red. And he says, what? And then runs to a mirror. And then he looks at his eyes and his pupils are red. Now, he then asks his mom, is there any chance that I could? Do you think it's a popped blood vessel? She's like, no, if it was, we would see some type of sign like it wouldn't be perfectly spread around your pupil. It would have to eventually spread around your eye in general. So, yeah. So they go to the hospital, and basically the doctors can't even explain what happened to Izuku. Also, I'm pretty sure Izuku's hair inside the anime wasn't green, but I have to specify it's pure black. I'm pretty sure he had some green highlights, but he didn't like have green hair. You know what I mean. Now, anyway, let's get back to the main story. So, Azuka goes to school, and this is the last day of school. And Bakugo decides to give him to try and give him the worst beating he's ever given him. The worst beating that Bakugo has given him up to now was one time Azuku said he refuses to be bullied, which Bakugo got offended by, and then he just started stomping him out onto the ground after he got him down. And then he started kicking him and saying, you would not say no to a god. Now, of course, Azuka kept on talking his shit, said you're not a god, you ain't shit. So, Bakugo tries to roll up on him and throw the punch at Azuka. Now Izuku sees this inside of slow motion, and he puts his hand inside the way. But when he puts his hand inside the way, Bakugo's arm instantly breaks, and you can see bone coming out of his arm, and basically everybody's just shocked, and then some girls start to scream. The boys just walk back a little bit, and Bakugo's like, "What did you do?" And then Bakugo tries to hit him with an explosion, but when the when the explosion connects, it does basically nothing. Which this explosion was powerful enough to actually hurt Bakugo's hand. So that means this explosion was powerful. So anyway, basically Izuku looks inside of Bakugo's eyes, and Bakugo's thrown inside of some type of trance. When Bakugo wakes up, he's inside of a different world. He sees a dark creature feasting on something. It's almost like he was put inside of a genjutsu from Naruto. But instead of being able to actually get out of it, he can't. And again, I'm gonna make this like the Sharingan. He kind of has a second sight after his first, so he can basically control everything inside of there and see inside of that dimension. And also, he can move around and just go on with his day. Now, Bakugo applied for UA, which Izuku, he wasn't expelled because technically he didn't actually hurt him, and he didn't have a quirk, so there was no proof that he used anything to actually hurt Bakugo. So Izuku got away with it, and Bakugo was put into a coma. Don't worry, he's not gonna be in a coma the whole anime. So I don't want nobody saying, please don't let Bakugo be inside of a coma, because he's not gonna be in one for the at least not inside of the whole place. Now Izuku basically practices his, practices his abilities once he gets home. And one thing that he notices from his powers is he's a lot stronger. He can bend steel, not easily, but with a lot of strength. Not all of it, but a lot. And one other thing that he noticed is he can kind of control fire just the tiniest bit. He notices whenever there's a lit flame around him, he can kind of look inside of any direction or like put his hand inside of any direction and the flame would move that way. He could also stretch flames, not to a point that's amazing, but to a point that's okay. Now, he basically he basically writes a seal onto the ground, a holy seal, and then he did what he did last night to summon a god. Now, the god that gave him his powers, I'm gonna say it's me. Yeah, it's gonna be me. It's gonna be me. So I'm just basically like, why did you call me this time? And Zuku basically says, well, what the fuck did you do to me? And I'm just basically like, the fuck? Who the fuck you think you talking to? Nigga, I am older than your great grandparents. I'm older than your great grandparents' great grandparents. Fuck you mean? What did I do to you? And then he says, okay. What did you do to me, sir? And then I say, that's more like it. What I did was I allowed you to control a few elements and to make a few new elements. But we ain't gonna get into that right now. And I basically say, okay, so one thing that you can do is if you find a demon inside this world, which is not very common, then how do I say this inside of a way That doesn't sound ungodly. Oh, I don't give a fuck. I then say, if you go and fuck a demon and impregnate the demon, since you did get your powers from a god, from a god slash powerful angel. I'm gonna say gods are powerful angels, but the god is, actually a god. Like the one thing to actually be a god. So he basically says it would make something like a Nephilim, but more kind of demonic. And also it would age faster. It would go back to aging normally at about the age of, I'd say, 10, 9, 9, 10, 9, 10. Yeah. And I'll basically say, okay, I'm finna get the fuck out of here because I was just fucking the god of love, goddess of love, and I'm trying to get my nut in, you feel me? So I'ma just leave. And I just basically whoosh out of there. Now, Azuku's confused, disgusted, and just saying, what if a god? And then he just completely erases the thought, and then he says, anyway, I don't even know how to find a fucking demon. And you guys know who I'm gonna ship him with? Yeah, if you do, you know me. Um, he decides to summon this the next day to summon a demon, but on that day he trains all day, and he comes back to the house knowing how to actually turn a flame into a long extended flame. So Azuku has some thoughts of some very powerful moves. Anyways, um basically after after they after Zook after it turns dark, sorry for all the afters and stuttering. After it gets dark, basically Azuka decides to summon the demon, which from literally nobody's surprise. If you were surprised by this, tell me. By nobody's surprise, it summons Toga. Yes, 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 yes. Now, Toga's like, oh, are you a demon or a god? Because, demons have red eyes, but gods can also have red eyes. It's kind of confusing. And Azuku basically says, I'm a new breed. I'm just gonna call myself a vampire for right now, even though they never existed in the first place. She basically says, "Oh, what do you want? Cause I'm both a succubus demon, so I could take your virginity if you're a virgin that has no other friends for your life, or I could give you some special powers." And Azuku basically says, "Well, the first option does sound pretty good without the, me dying part. But I did not come here for that." He then says, can I get you pregnant? And she says, okay. And he's like, wait. She's like, and then Toga says, okay. I mean, you asked, you summoned me to this world, which is a favor for a favor, so I have to abide by this favor. The thing is, when we do this type of thing, you have to do two things. You have to raise the child, and also you got to make sure it stays alive. And he's basically like, why wouldn't it stay alive? And Toga says, well, when a god gives a human godly abilities, um, when they have babies, it's a high chance of the baby dying. So you have to pump it with constant, either mystical, magical, or physical power. Nature power and creation power won't work. So yeah, if you know mystical or magics, then you need to fill the baby with the power. She then says the baby should take only, uh, I'd say about 10 months to to basically be born. And the Duke is like, wow, that's literally perfect. And he's like, okay, tell me if you guys want me to describe the sex scenes inside the comments. Okay, okay. So him and Toga basically do that. Toga's like, damn, you got god dick, no pun intended. And then she then says, well, anyway, um, I'm gonna just I'm just gonna go to bed. And he's like, oh, I forgot. And then Toga goes to bed, and he also goes to bed, which I'm gonna say God seed is like 96% of working. So it's a very low percentage that she won't get pregnant. So, eh, if. So he wakes up the next day and does the same thing and same thing and same thing and same thing for, I'd say, 5 months before he can get it. He could literally control fire to his will. And then he says, what is one other ability that would be nice? And then he thinks of his favorite anime. And he then says, I think I know. Now, you guys will know what ability I picked for him after. Okay, so I'm going to say 5 more months pass. And it's the day of UA, which his child still hasn't been born because he did spend technically 1 day to summon the demon and train. So he does need one other day for the baby to actually be born. So, you know, basically Azuka goes to the testing grounds and he walks past Uraraka, and this time he doesn't trip. And Uraraka's basically like, oh, he's cute. And then just keeps on walking. Now, I'm gonna say on the written test, he gets the same score, all corrections, and a 100%. So after he does that, it's time for the physical, which he's about to amaze everybody. Now on the ground is dirt and other alloys, which then he uses to combine all together to make a sand cloud. Yes, I did give him the ability to control sand, but technically he's only controlling magnets. So, that's the only reason he can use the sand. So, and or anything else with metal inside of it. So anyway, that does include a little bit of dirt, but it has to be dirt that has some type of metal alloy, which is basically a lot of dirt. So, yeah. And basically he flies upwards and then he uses a fire, not a fire. He basically creates fire and then he extends the fire. And then he says, "Fire strike, go." Now this is after the instructor said go, of course. And as he says this, instantly multiple robots explode. Now the reason for this was because everybody was looking at him. They were just wondering what ability he was going to use. Secretly, well, not really secretly, but basically, he used his ability, and the fire split into, I'm gonna say, seven different fire arrows or fire strikes. And basically, they went towards the robots and hit them. These were so thin and precise that they made the robot explode because of the force of how fast they were going. And also, they also just you know disappeared after they pierced the robot all the way through. Now, he basically just keeps on saying fire strike, fire strike, fire strike, fire strike until a robot comes up behind him, comes up behind him and hits him, which knocks Izuku into the ground. Which some people are ready to say, try to help him, but then all of a sudden he just looks at it, and then it gets torn apart, and then everybody instantly turns around and they're like, "Nah, I'm not getting close to his eyes, cause he just tore apart a robot with a stare, not not with his hands, a stare." Which other people are thinking that he just moves so fast that they think that it got tore apart, but no, he literally destroyed it with a stare. So yeah, basically, I'm gonna say the zero pointer comes in, the ground starts to rumble, and the people are basically running the opposite way. And Zuku just looks forward and he's like, "Wow, that must be interesting." And then he sees the giant zero pointer getting ready to step on Uraraka, which he's like, for the pain, I was wishing I could not see that. Now he looks at the robot, and then his eyes start to glow crimson red. He says, "Stare of the blood moon." Now, when he does this, the robot literally like its cells start pulling off of the robot. So to regular people, it looks like the robot's just disappearing all of a sudden, but no, cells from the robot are being pulled one by one, basically basically taking apart the robot. And then Izuku says, "Okay, erase." And as he says this, everything around him explodes, including the robot. But he does save Uraka, which Uraka's basically looking at him like she's looking at him like, "Nigga, I'm about to get on my never mind," because I was about to sound sus. But anyway, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure we all know what look she's giving. Which then Izuku feels something wet at his arm, and then he's like, "Please tell me that's not pee." And then she says, "Nope, not pee." Then he's like, "Oh, you want to go have a threesome with my girlfriend?" And then she's like, "What?" And then he's like, "Do you want to go and have a three?" I don't think I stuttered. And then she's like, "I some other time, but I really got to get to the hospital because my leg's kind of broken." And he's like, "Oh, I forgot about that." And he basically walks her to recovery girl. She gives her a kiss, and then recovery girl tells her, "You can't be doing anything that's that takes a lot of energy for the for a couple of days." Now Uraka says okay, and she goes on with what she was doing, which was leaving. Azuku comes home to realize I have a child now, and he summoned he summoned Toka at about the time that it was getting dark. So he got home at about 9 o'clock, which was an hour after he had gotten home to summon Toga in the first place. Which he then sees his child, which I don't have anything for anime babies right now, but I'll show you at the next episode what his child looks like. And by the way, he doesn't look like this. He looks more like this. No, no. I can't find it. Let me find it. He looks kind of like you from the Seraph at the end. So, you know, that's what he looks like. Anyway, um, a picture again, because he looks a little bit too emo out of this, so we don't do emo deku around here. Okay, now that's the end of this video. If you guys enjoyed, hit that little subscribe button and like button. If you guys please would share this to your friends, I would appreciate it. Join the Discord, link inside the description. Yes, I do have a Discord with over 40 people. Most of them are bots, but you know. Eh. Uh, so I'll see you guys later, and subscribe to Genki What Ifs and Dark Sage. Bye. No Liza Koshi.